よく聞け、トルフィン。お前に敵などいない。誰にも敵などいないんだ。傷つけて良いものなどどこにもいない。
Revenge, the idea of harming someone physically, mentally, spiritually, or simply acting on the thought of wanting that person to suffer, is something that we've seen shown across all types of media, from video games to movies to even now anime. So many stories are deeply rooted with the themes of revenge, from characters like Eren Yeager in Attack on Titan to Lelouch in Code Geass. They're strongly entrenched in the notion of vengeance. I understand that people would think this way because of the fact that the first season of Vinland Saga was so heavily focused on that theme. However, what makes it so amazing is that everything that takes place in season 1 was the prologue. The setup of a major larger story, a story that is so rich and amazing that is up there with the best mangas like Berserk and Vagabond. After finally catching up on the manga recently, I honestly have to say that Thorfinn probably ends up having the best character development I've seen in all of anime and manga. Maybe that's because of the recency bias, but fuck, seeing a character evolve from being an angry, vengeful teenager to what he becomes later on is such a breath of fresh air. This type of story and character exploration is what makes me fall in love with anime and manga all over again, and it shows that the medium is able to hit new heights that I previously didn't think were possible. So, Vinland Saga initially follows the tale of Thorfinn's path to revenge. The story is set during the golden age of Viking era and follows Thorfinn's quest to avenge his father's death that was taken by the hands of Askeladd, which eventually joins the group of mercenaries who is able to challenge his father's murderer to a man-to-man duel.
お前も殺してやる。絶対に殺してやる。ぶっ殺してやるぞ。殺してやる。 Deja vu, I just been in this place before. Higher on the street and I know it's my time to go. Going through and searches of mystery.
Yeah, he does this for a while. But in the meantime, Askeladd makes him do some pretty fucked Viking shit to help him get his rematches. Thorfinn starts off the beginning of the story as a sweet, joyful kid with a curiosity about the world, and just living a normal farm boy life, doing you know what kids do at their age. But his dumbass gets a bit too curious and ends up hiding in a barrel on a long ship and joins his father to war that he doesn't even want to be a part of. This man in the past hated fighting so much in the war that he managed to smoke a bunch of niggas, pretend he got hurt by one of them so that he could fake his own death to leave the war so that he could live a normal life. After unintentionally getting his father killed by Askeladd trying to help him and feeling responsible for what happened, that evidently sets him down a path of vengeance to undo the biggest mistake of his life. Intentionally, Thorfinn seems to look like a typical one-dimensional angry character whose sole purpose is to just kill Askeladd. But throughout the prologue, we see how much he is a flawed little boy filled with rage that leads him to becoming a monster, and how his short-sighted goal blinds him from what he's actually doing. Even when he was young, he was always capable of violence. After all, Thorfinn and all the other kids played war games all the time as he waited for the day he could finally join the battle, and that eagerness of wanting to be a true warrior as he imagined as a young boy leads him to his destructive life in his teenage years. The naive belief of what he thought makes a warrior and fighting his father's killer in a one-to-one duel to avenge his father's death was the only thing that mattered. However, he was still a child at heart, and witnessing him transform from an innocent young boy to an obsessive killing machine is so heartbreaking to see. Thorfinn did not care about anyone. He did not care how many people died, how many villages were pillaged. The only thing that mattered to him was to get his duel with Askeladd. Until that single goal was done, that was his purpose of living. But then, that goal of his was taken away from him. His purpose was now gone. Thorfinn devoted all of his life up until this moment for revenge, and now that revenge was no longer there, he has nothing to cling on to anymore. Not hatred, not a dream, nothing. The only thing that would be left with him would be nothing, not even regret. In all his years trying to fulfill this vengeance, he never thought to ask himself what he would do after. The hate and anger consumed him so much that he became a slave to it, and that was his biggest mistake. When he understood he could not get his revenge, he realized something. Thorfinn realized all this time Askeladd was trying to teach him something very important, but he could not realize what it was. So this results to him being just empty. With nothing to cling onto, Thorfinn was just an empty man, and that was where we see him at the beginning of season 2. Some time has passed since the incident, and you see Thorfinn a shell of himself, a broken man with no purpose, a literal slave, not just mentally, but physically as well. Yukimura specifically sets the beginning of the story in a way for the audience to believe that the main focus point of Thorfinn's character was going to primarily be centered around his revenge for Askeladd. And it was. However, Yukimura understood there was more to Thorfinn's character than just revenge, and by doing this he needed to contextualize what it actually means to be a true warrior. But not only that, he needed to put Thorfinn in a position to take away the most important thing from him and leave him with nothing, which leads to him asking, what happens to Thorfinn when his purpose gets taken away from him? What reason does he have to live? Why does he keep going? These are the questions he answers later on through the story, and anime will get to explore this season. Through these questions, Thorfinn ends up finding a way to be a true warrior in his own way. The series' greatest strength is its themes of growth, from people to tones to situation and settings. Everything changes. From the edgy, tense child who's completely frustrated by his powerlessness and filled with immense rage and single-minded determination, he slowly and gradually changed from having strong trauma and emptiness and drives him from devoid of any purpose. And with that, he needs to fill himself with new meaning and search for that purpose. That is why Thorfinn is so special. His character arc feels real and rooted with real problems, and that any of us would have faced if we were in this similar position. Thorfinn's path of one's self-discovery is why I love Vinland Saga so much.